turned faith into is another work. It was that he came to this place of being fully satisfied, fully intoxicated. Another one of those other versions we looked at, fully in that place of being immersed in this knowledge and experience and communion, the way I would use the word, with him, so that it became something that settled in him. Aligning the heart for destiny is largely about aligning our hearts to God. Now, here's where I'm going to explain to you why most of us have not walked in a lot of this. You've heard me talk about it, but I want to make real application about it now. Aligning the heart for destiny is largely about aligning our hearts to God in the now. You have the practical, like Tricia is talking about today, because there's things in the natural we're going after, healing and I want to be a rock star or whatever. But those are important. But what I'm talking about in here in particular is aligning our hearts to God in the now, in the right now. Faith is always present tense. And faith never makes something true. We believe something because it's already true. A lot of what we were taught was about we're trying to, if we can believe it into existence, it's almost like if we can believe enough, then something will happen. It's like we're working up something to make something happen. Now, when I believe stuff, things do happen. But faith is always present tense, and I'm always believing something that's already true. Identity stuff, you're not going to become. Tricia used those change versus transformation. You're already righteous. You're not trying to become righteous. You're not trying to become holy. You actually are holy, and now you live from that place. Faith is about something that is, and it's always present tense. So the God who is the I am, Jesus, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. These are present tense, right now statements that we'll probably pick up on next week. We'll share some things about some of these characteristics of the heart. It's always present tense. It's always this, and this. And we'll pick up on some of that next week. But He's the I am God when it comes to you. So the reason sometimes that we don't experience the satisfaction of drinking from God's reality, His love and His presence, is because we really don't know how to live in the present. Now hopefully you were here, and is it getting hot in here now? No, it's just me. It's hot. The guy in the shorts says it's hot, and then the lady in the wrapped up says it's not. Okay. You've already heard me preach about the cares of this life a few weeks ago, and I shared that word for cares. I asked the Lord, what is it what are people struggling with? And He said, the cares of this life. And I thought I knew what that meant. Usually when God tells you something like that, it's probably because you don't know what it meant. So I'd start digging into it, and the word cares does not mean problems. The cares of this life or the cares of this world that word for care means to be distracted, divided, separated, even fractured. It means to be pulled in different directions. And it is a place where we get pulled into yesterday in our identity, which we're not going to talk about this week, but we may get to next week. Into a false identity of our past. You're stupid, you're guilty, you're ashamed, you get pulled into that. That is called the cares of this life. When you get pulled into the future, which we'll talk about next week probably, that is called the cares of this life. That's called anxiety and stress. And what we're going to talk about today, the other reason that we get pulled into these places other than the present is called in the present when we judge. There's nothing that will, in the present, bring you out of an awareness of God and His presence and living and growing in this thing than the way that we live out of our carnal mind instead of out of our hearts. Because, let me give you some definitions. Again, we'll give you guys some notes to fill this in, or you can write it down. It's up to you. But I'm going to just run with this stuff. Faith is the position of trust from the heart, 3 areas, where the past no longer defines me, but my union with Christ does. I believe that I am, that's present tense, righteous, forgiven, holy, loved in Christ. Those identity issues are breaking me free from a past lying identity. So in terms of the past, faith is the position of trust from the heart where the past no longer defines me, but my union with Christ does. And the writing. You're going to get the notes. This is number 2. Faith is the position of trust from the heart. Ditto marks or whatever you call those from the line before. Faith is the position of trust from the heart where I'm not judging the present, but I'm content and enjoying Christ. Where I'm not judging the present, but I'm content and enjoying Christ. And faith is the position of the heart, this is the third one, where I trust the unfolding of life toward me instead of being fearful of life. That has to do with the future. We're not going to talk about that tonight. That's a good one. I wanted to talk about it. And if my minutes don't run out, I'll pull up my notes. So I'm not going to talk about